Hello and welcome, Cheryl. I'm super excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
It looks like we're both living in a nice warm climate, right? Like no, nothing.
Right. Goodness. Yeah, I know. It's been warm for like a couple days, but after today, it's like downhill. So
Yep,
just try
yep.
to enjoy it.
Exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
before we're gonna dig into the whole topic of virtual events today, and I'm really excited about it because I love them, but I also know that there's a bunch of pitfalls, right? So before we kind of dig in there, so why don't you just give people the 2 minute bird's eye overview? Where you based? What's your business? Who do you help and how?
I am based in Northeast Ohio. My business is partnering with brands and companies and entrepreneurs to help them launch and scale with virtual events, mainly summits. That's my jam. And so, yeah, so I help women entrepreneurs. I help all types of entrepreneurs, but mostly I am really just with the business owners that are just trying to grow. They want to grow their community. They want to bring awareness to their brands. And that's what I help them do. I help them get that visibility so that they can attract the people that they want to work with. So
Love that.
that's my thing. Yeah.
So awesome. So now, what about Summit excites you enough to turn it into your business?
I started Summits in 2014 and I felt like it really changed the trajectory of my business. My business wasn't really a business before it. I didn't have an email list. I didn't have a community. I didn't have people to sell to. So I really wasn't making money. And so once I decided to do summits to build my email list, I started actually having a real business consistently. So I took away the whole up and down income months, how we go through that whole cycle of, it's good this month, but it's not good the next month. So I took all that stuff away once I was able to build my email list. But using the virtual events and mainly summits helped me to do that. Also helped me build relationships, which are huge in the whole collaboration thing, like we really need to collaborate to build relationships. And so that's why I love summits because it allows you to do all of that.
Yeah, I love that. But I
Yeah.
mean, I also, I mean, I have very obviously very similar approach to that, and I've also seen what happens when you don't have enough of an audience, right? When it doesn't grow consistently, when you keep telling the same jokes to the same people, it just doesn't. So and working with other people, because at the end of the day, the reason we do summits is because we end up accessing other people's audiences
Right.
through the summit, right? I think that's really the main, in my mind, that's the main difference between,
Yeah.
okay, I host the masterclass or I organize the summit. So I have access to other people's audiences and they have access to mine. Is that how you would describe it, or is there something you'd add?
That's how I would describe it. Access to other people's audiences, yes, because we want to get in front of as many people as we can, but we also want to be strategic. We don't just want any and everybody. We want it to be targeted. We want it to make sense. And so I think you can just make summits really fun because you can do them so many different ways. I think me and you talked about that before, right? You can do it in so many different ways. And like I said, the relationships that you build can lead to so many different things later on down the line, more collaborations, more opportunities to speak and do different things in different projects. And so I think summits are just a great gateway for that.
Yeah, totally, totally. Now, I've come across, I mean, I've stumbled into pitfalls. Like the very first summit I did with a bunch of friends a few years ago, and we thought, oh, this sounds like fun. We want to do something together. Let's do a summit, right? And then we looked at, oh, what do you talk about? What do you? And everybody was kind of talking about like, okay, now we're trying to find a topic that allow
Mhm.
like sort of something, an overarching theme that allowed all of us to talk about our thing. you know, you can probably guess that that didn't go well.
Right.
So lesson
Right.
learned. So what do you see the biggest pitfall to be that people stumble into when they kind of try and put together a summit and.
One of the biggest pitfalls, it's a few, but one of the biggest ones is doing them with your friends. People that I think can be one of the biggest pitfalls. I never want to do a summit with people I know. I always want to connect with people I don't know, because it just gives me a higher return on my conversions, and I think it just makes more sense. So I think that when you kind of do it with your colleagues or, people that you're familiar with, it doesn't really bring it together like you want it to. You might not get the results you want to. That's my experience. So that's what I can say about one of the biggest things that I see people doing.
Well, that's the thing. Like, well, yes, and I mean, we had all. Like, I think we probably did all the things wrong. Like, I mean, everybody finds their lesson where you need to find them, right? I mean, one was the topic; it was wishy-washy. It was like, and it's literally. I guess it's what's helped me see now to say, well, okay, this is probably the most critical thing to have a topic and not just think about the stuff you want to talk about. Like, think about what the people you want to attend, what they want to hear, what they're interested in. Because if it's boring to them, then you can talk to your Zoom screen all you want and nobody's going to care.
Yeah. I would say definitely look at what's trending now in your industry, what's currently trending at the time. Pick a topic on that because that's what people will listen to. Like AI is a big thing. So if you come with something on AI and doing it on LinkedIn, people are going to listen because that's the new thing, right? So something that's trending, yeah, you don't want to bore people because you'll lose them before you even really get them attracted to, your offers or whatever it is that you're trying to pursue with the summit. So
yeah,
we don't want to lose them. We want to keep them engaged.
Exactly. And your partners, like, how do you choose? How do you go about choosing your partners? Because, like one thing that happened with our little friend group, none of us had an audience. Like 0 times 5 is still 0.
Yeah,
So what else would you say is important to take into consideration when you choose your partners or your speakers?
Well, that's a big thing, what you just mentioned, people not having an audience. And I think when people want to do summits with people they know and they don't have an audience, well, that's a big problem, right? Because we want people that have an audience. So I would look people up. I maybe stalk them on social media. I reach out to them, I build rapport with them. But ultimately, I'm looking at how they engage with their communities because sometimes you can have even a big email list and not really engage with them. So then that's pointless too. So yeah, I'll even go as far as getting on their email list to see, if they're emailing and what they're talking about and things like that. So I really do my research first before I reach out to people and see how the best way we can collaborate on a summit. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, that's so true. Actually, I did one for a client once, and I was worried. Like, she was all excited. She had these speakers and nice tight topic, like really good. And when they submitted their stuff, and how big your email is, and there was like, I don't know, out of this, I mean, it was like a mini summit. It was just 6 speakers, and I think 4 of them didn't even have an email list. So where are we going with this? Her summit brought in more subscribers than any other summit I've done in that format because they all had super engaged Instagram followings. So I think it's like you really need to do your research into seeing how they engage with their audience. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to stalk them a little bit. It really does. Totally. It'll pay off in the long run, believe me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So what's your favorite format? As you were saying, like you can get really creative. There's so many different ways of doing it. So if you had to, do you have a favorite format, or would you say, if you want this, then that format, or like, what's your take on all these different options of doing it?
Yes, I've done them so many different ways: video, audio only, live. I like the live. The only thing that can be a little hard with the live is if somebody doesn't show up, and how do you fill that spot? Something like that might happen. But I really like the live because people are engaged and they're interacting, they're asking questions, and they can really get to know you a little bit more that way. It's just a little bit more of an intimate experience versus the pre-recorded and the audio and all that stuff. But I love them all. The next one I do, I'm going to pre-record, but I'm also going to do a live experience as well. So I'm going to have 2 different versions of it in one summit. It's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to do it. And a panel. I'm going to do a panel too. So
yeah, no, I think there's that. I mean, what do you normally have, like a VIP option for that kind of thing, or do you just kind of like, yeah, it couldn't be asked? Well, everybody gets access to the same thing.
Access to the same. Well, yeah, I do have a VIP. Yeah, you can upgrade to a VIP experience, which is a more intimate experience with the speakers, that type of thing. and all access pass, like forever, type of thing. So, because usually with the replays, you might let them have access for 48 hours or something like that. But with the VIP, you get all access to the replays. So yeah, you do have that option.
Do people take you up on, like, is that something, like, is there a sort of a kind of percentage of how many people would usually take up on, like, or is that different for each industry, or is there like some sort of benchmark, or if there is a VIP option, is that something people buy, or is that a hard thing to sell?
I don't think it's a hard thing to sell. I do think it depends on what the summit is about, like who the audience is. Like my experience, I haven't done it all the time, like for each one. I've only done it maybe once or twice. And it wasn't a hard sell. It wasn't that many people buying the VIP. But I think over time, it's like, it depends on how many people too, like how many attendees you have. So I think as the number grows, you'll probably get more people into the VIP, because if you're averaging maybe, a few hundred people on a summit, then, you might get a 10% conversion on VIP. You might, but if you average 1,000, and we usually average between 600 to 1,000 leads. So yeah, but I haven't always done the VIP.
Yeah. So what's your like timeline for that? Because I think I remember the first time I did these, like I do now, like the ones I usually do are sort of these smaller events, like, just sort of 6, 7 speakers. And I remember the first recommendation I got was to kind of have a 6-week lead time, right? Now there I was thinking, oh, I've got my systems in place. I'll pull it off in 4, right? So I did it. I did. And I thought I won't do it again, not because of the mechanics of it all. It was, I had one speaker who was, who had some personal stuff going on. And I was like, oh my God, like if she kind of pulls out last minute, I have a real tough time filling that spot now. I don't have any breathing space in between. So it was more for that. So if you do bigger events, or what's your kind of lead time? Like, what do you normally recommend?
As far as pulling it together?
Yeah. To say from the day you think like, oh, let's do a summit, to like, if you decided today, say, hey, I've got a topic, let's do a summit. What would you suggest as a possible like summit date?
Yeah, I would, if I'm going to do a summit, maybe with like 20 speakers, let's say, I would say 60 days. I would give myself about 60 days to put on a really good summit. If it's a lot less than that, like maybe under 12, I think you could pull it off in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's my experience too.
Yeah. Because it's just, you know how that goes with people. Things come up.
Yeah.
You can't get them on. Get the interview. It's just
like it's a little bit like herbs and puppies, right?
Exactly.
It's fun. I think most people agree that it's a good idea, and like every time I've explained to people all the bits and pieces, all the moving parts that are involved, people go, oh well. So if they kind of want help with that, so if they wanted you to help with their summit, where would they go? Where can they get in touch with you? And
they can come to LinkedIn. That's my playground. That's where I'm at mostly, on LinkedIn. So just send me a DM, or you can email me at cheryl@cheryljmoses.com. And and I can get in touch with you. I think summits are just amazing. I think everybody should be doing events, first of all. If we want to sell, if we want to have a community of people who know who we are and bring awareness to our brands, we need to be doing events. So yeah, just reach out. If you have any questions, reach out.
Awesome. Well, do that, because she's a lot of fun to hang out with. So thank you so much for coming. And let's do loads of summits.